This is the COMA Girl Daily Podcast, written by Stephanie Bond. July 14th, Thursday. I'm sorry it's been a few days since I've been by to visit you, sweetheart. I've taken off a lot of work since the accident, and my boss was leaning on me to get back on the road. My dad, Robert Kemp, sells road signs. You know, the kind you see when you drive along the highway. He sells to local municipalities, county governments, state governments, and he even has some accounts on the federal level. If you've ever traveled through the Southeast, you've probably driven by one of my dad's signs. It's not a very glamorous job, but my dad is good at it, and he takes a lot of pride in his products. The garage, basement, and attic of the home I grew up in are stacked with samples and rejects, misprints and misspellings. Louisiana seems to give sign makers the most trouble, followed by Mississippi. Although Tennessee is problematic too. Mr. Boxer isn't a bad guy, my dad said. He asks about you all the time. But this is a busy time of the year since so many governments' fiscal year ends in June, so new budgets are being set and spent. My dad has always traveled during the week and been home on the weekends. But there have been occasions when he's had to be on site for a big install and was away from home for a couple of weeks at a time. When Alex was old enough, he traveled with Dad during summer breaks. Ditto for Sydney. I'm not sure why I didn't. Maybe Dad was waiting for me to ask, and I was waiting to be asked. Anyway, Dad had always had an easy rapport with Alex and Sid, but he struggled more to talk to me. And even though Mr. Spooner is working on the contingency that Keith Young's insurance will pay for everything, there are still retainers and medical bills and, well, you don't need to hear all that. Just know that I'm going to take care of everything. But I never doubted my father's love for me, and it pained me to think he would be working overtime to pay for expenses I'd incurred. I checked with the police impound lot, and they agreed to release your car. It's a mess, but I think I know a guy who can fix it. I'm having it towed to his shop this week. Don't worry. By the time you get out of here, it'll be as good as new and waiting for you. Some people believe a person's well-being is reflected in their teeth. My dad believes a person's well-being is reflected in their vehicle. It made sense because he spent so much time in his SUV, which is always immaculate and in top running condition. There were plenty of times after I hit driving age when I'd missed a dental checkup, but my dad wouldn't hear of me missing an oil change. So I can't imagine what it did to him to see my little Ford Escort banged up. "Hey, I got a new grill," he said, as if it had just popped into his mind. "One of those nice egg ones. Sydney gave it to me for Father's Day." I'd missed Father's Day, I realized, but I could never top Sydney's and Alex's gifts anyway. And Alex sent me cufflinks made from lapis mined in Afghanistan. See what I mean? "When you wake up, I'll make you a big, juicy steak," he said, his voice cracking. "And I want to braid your hair." Braid my hair? Maybe I hadn't heard him correctly. "When you were a little girl, you came to me once and asked me to braid your hair. You were maybe 6 or 7. I was irritated, probably busy with something I thought was important, and I didn't know how to braid your hair, so I snapped at you and sent you away." "I'm so sorry, Marigold." I remember when that happened. Only because my father is generally so sweet-natured. The few times he'd raised his voice to me had made an impression. But I hadn't been traumatized by the incident. He'd obviously thought a lot more about it than I had, and now he seemed afraid he wasn't going to have the chance to right what he perceived to be a grievous wrong. I wish I could reach out to my daddy now and tell him it was fine, and I'm fine. But I'm not fine, of course. Else I could tell him I'm fine.
Hi, this is Stephanie Bond, author of the COMA Girl Daily Podcast. If you have a question you'd like for me to answer on an upcoming bonus episode, check the show notes for links to reach out on social media. Thanks for listening. Come back tomorrow for another episode of COMA Girl. And please tell a friend.